They hand you the knife with a smile, tell you it's a gift, and when it cuts you open, you thank them for making you feel something. You ever kiss the same blade that gutted you? That's what most people call love. They wrap betrayal in warm hands, dress manipulation in sweet words. And you cling to them, like they're your lifeline, even when they're the ones tightening the noose. You see, this world doesn't teach you to love yourself. It teaches you to worship your pain, to idolize your destroyers, to stay loyal to the people who made you question your worth. I've seen it. Men chasing women who crushed their spirit, women forgiving monsters who buried their joy, and all of them whispering, "But I love them." Love, that's not love. That's a slow suicide wearing perfume. But here's the punchline. They don't need to chain you, you'll chain yourself. Because deep down, they've trained you to believe that pain is proof you're alive. So you keep bleeding and calling it romance. You keep shrinking and calling it loyalty. You keep loving your killers and no one stops you because they're doing it too. Everyone's kneeling. Everyone's apologizing to the blade. But me, I see the comedy. I watched them stab me and I smiled. Not because it didn't hurt, but because I finally understood the joke. They only have power because I kept kissing the knife. Now, I keep the blade, but I don't bleed for anyone anymore. They didn't just hurt you. They trained you. From the moment you could speak, they whispered lessons dressed as lullabies. Be kind. Be forgiving. Turn the other cheek. But they left something out. They never taught you when to stop. When kindness becomes self-destruction. When forgiveness becomes permission. They taught you to endure, but not to escape. To tolerate, but not to transform. Why? Because a person addicted to pain is easy to control. See, I figured it out while staring into the mirror, the one with cracks running through my face. That reflection wasn't just mine, it was manufactured by churches that told me suffering makes you holy, by schools that punished me for speaking too loud, by parents that said, be grateful even when it hurts. So I did. I wore my wounds like a badge, apologized for my anger, smiled through betrayal, and loved my killers, because I thought that's what made me good. But the mirror was a lie. It wasn't cracked because I was broken. It was cracked to make me believe I was. Because a shattered reflection keeps you unsure, insecure, obedient. They programmed you to fear leaving the people who poison you. They called it loyalty. They told you walking away meant you're heartless, but staying meant you had a soul. That's the scam. It's not just emotional, it's systemic. Governments call you radical if you fight back. Religions call you sinful if you question the pain. Families call you ungrateful if you stop taking abuse, and so you stay. Not because you want to, but because you're conditioned to. You see, they don't need cages, they just need guilt, and guilt will do the job for them. No bars, no chains. Just that voice in your head saying, maybe it's my fault, maybe I deserve this. But you don't, you never did. That voice, it's not you, it's them, wearing your tone, stealing your thoughts, It's time to shut it off. And when you do, the silence will be the loudest freedom you've ever heard. You want to know when I stopped loving them? It wasn't some dramatic moment. No lightning, no thunder, just silence. The kind that creeps up behind your smile and strangles it. I remember sitting in a room full of people who said they loved me and feeling like a ghost in my own skin. Invisible, exhausted, dying quietly while they laughed. They didn't notice the light leaving my eyes. They just kept asking me to dim it. And that's when I snapped, not with fists, not with screams, with clarity. See, the first kill isn't them. It's the version of you that begged for their love in the first place. That little voice that said, if I just try harder, they'll stop hurting me. Wrong. Trying harder for people who feed off your suffering is like watering poison and calling it hope. So I stopped. Not out of hatred, but out of self-respect. I stood in front of that mirror, the same cracked one they gave me, and I didn't fix it. I shattered it completely because I didn't want a reflection anymore. I wanted a rebirth. They said I changed, that I became heartless. But here's the truth, they were never afraid of losing me. They were afraid of losing their favorite puppet. Because when I loved them, they had control. But when I loved myself, they had nothing. They called me insane, dangerous, broken. But I just laughed, because for the first time, I was finally whole. I didn't owe them explanations, didn't owe them apologies, didn't owe them love. Not the kind that costs your soul. That's when I realized loyalty is only noble when it's mutual. Otherwise, it's just emotional slavery. So I let the rope burn, didn't flinch as it tore through my wrists, didn't cry when the weight of them fell away, because freedom hurts, but it heals. And loving your killers, that only hurts. So I killed that habit, buried it next to the version of me that begged for breadcrumbs. And now I feast on truth. Cold, unforgiving, but honest. And I'll never starve again. Funny thing about the world, it loves a monster, as long as he's well dressed and knows how to smile for the cameras. You think your pain will earn you justice? No, it earns you suspicion, because when you finally speak up, when you finally cut off the people who've been killing you with kindness, the world doesn't ask, what did they do to you? They ask, why are you so angry? That's the game. You break your silence and they call you bitter. You walk away and they say you're cruel. You protect yourself and they label you cold. Why? Because society doesn't care about the truth. It cares about the illusion of peace and abusers. They're good at peace as long as the victim stays quiet. The manipulator wears charm like cologne. The narcissist knows how to cry on cue. And the world, it claps. They call them complex. Hurt people who hurt people. And they beg you, the broken one, to understand them, to give them another chance. But no one ever tells them to understand you. You're expected to be the bigger person. the mature one, the healer. Even if you're bleeding out, that's the sickness. This system doesn't protect the weak. It protects the ones who know how to fake strength, the ones who can smile while stabbing you, the ones who say, "It's not that deep. You're overreacting." Gaslighting becomes gospel. Manipulation becomes memory. And your pain becomes a performance, one the world refuses to watch. You start to question yourself. Maybe I'm exaggerating. Maybe I'm the problem. But listen closely. You are not the villain for walking away. You are not the monster for saving yourself. And you are not broken for refusing to love people who only loved your silence. The Joker? They never wanted him silent. They wanted him smiling. But he stopped. And when he did, the city shook. Because truth is louder than laughter. And survival? That's the loudest rebellion of all. They say I'm heartless now. Detached, distant. But what they don't know is that I died before I ever became this. Not physically. No, that would have been merciful. I died in pieces each time I swallowed pain to make someone else comfortable. Each time I apologized for bleeding on the people who stabbed me. That version of me, the pleaser, the puppet, the martyr, he's dead and good riddance. You can only love your killers for so long before you start digging your own grave. The funeral isn't loud. It's quiet, private. It happens when you stop texting back, when you stop explaining, when you stop saying, maybe they'll change. They won't. And even if they do, that version of you who tolerated their cruelty deserves peace, not another round of hope dressed as healing. You don't owe your abusers a second chance. You don't owe your manipulators closure. You don't owe your killers love. What you owe is to yourself, the self you abandoned trying to make monsters. Feel human. You see, the world will call you selfish when you save yourself. They'll call you dramatic, over-emotional, cold. Let them, because once you stop loving your killers, you start loving the only person that ever mattered. You. And that love, it's violent, unapologetic, liberating. So let the old version of you rest. Let the people who broke you stay broken without your help. You're not heartless. You're healing. And healing doesn't always look like smiling. Sometimes it looks like walking away without looking back. Now tell me this. Who were your killers? Who did you keep loving, even as they drained you? Comment your story below. Let the world see the truth. And let someone else know they're not alone in this war. This is where the pretending ends. This is where your power begins. No more love for your killers. Just love for your survivor. And if that makes you the villain in their story, you smile. You've been the hero in your own all along.